first things first, we're going to gather supplies. There's a lot of different supplies that you guys can use. These are just a suggestion. You need some sort of background, something to put your glass on, water, maybe food coloring, definitely a tripod or DIY tripod. For your setup, place the background in the light and your glass in the shade. So this might be a little tricky to find this scenario, but do your best. You can also use something to shade your glass. Next, you want to set up your camera and take some photos before you actually make a mess, whether it's on the table or in your hand. Then you're going to take a bunch of shots. Live view is a good option because then you can pick a frame. So if you have a phone that has live view, you can also use this on a regular camera. Here's some pictures I selected. And then what I did was I cleaned up my mess and tried a different scenario. So that was just on the table dropping ice cubes in. Next, I'm going to do ones where it's going to appear to be floating. If the light changes, move that light or the background into the shade. So I got a clean shot, and now I'm going to be tipping and spilling the liquid with my other hand. Because I was getting some shots with just the stem, and then I'm getting shots with the top of the glass. That way I can composite them together. When you're getting the stem, you want to tilt left and right, front, up and down, just to get a bunch of different angles so you can have some options to match it up. Next, we're going to go to the editing. So you want to go ahead and select your images if you were shooting in live view. So pick your keyframes. There you go. You tap on Make Key Photo and hit Done. Then you're going to upload your photos to Google Drive or get them to your computer, and then you're going to go to photopea.com. Next, you're going to go to File, Open, and then you're going to select the photos that you want to use. So in my composite, I only use 2 images. So you need to obviously use a minimum of 2 because otherwise it's not a composite. But you can use more than 2, so you can use 3, 4, maybe 5. I wouldn't go more than 5 because it can get pretty confusing. You're going to hit Open. Next, you have the 2 pictures in separate tabs. If you're in Photoshop, you can also open these as layers in the same document. But we're going to go select the Move tool and click and drag it into the other photo and pop it down. It should sort of snap into place. And then we have to align the images. So to align the images, you can select both layers, Command click or Shift click, and use the auto align selection. You got to let it process, takes a sec. And your images are going to try to line up with each other, especially if you moved your camera a little bit. It might not match up exactly. So then what you can do is, you can also click on the opacity on that top layer and kind of see the 2 images at the same time. I like to use this a lot. Next, what I am going to do is maybe use the Move tool and then just use the transform controls to try and adjust it so it matches a little bit better. You could also skip the auto align step, but I think it usually gives you a good start. So now I'm just kind of using the corners, resizing, trying to line it up the best I can so it matches pretty closely. Usually like the stem is a good place to connect the 2 pictures, so making sure that the stem is connected. Now I'm going to go and clean up that background image. So I turned off the top image, selected the bottom one, and I'm going with that healing brush and cleaning it. I will tell you that it did take a while. Photopea was kind of slow because this takes a lot of processing power. But be patient, take a deep breath. And also if the healing brush looks bad, Command Z, go back a step, or you can go in the history. Next, I went and I'm going to create a layer mask. So I selected my top layer, turned it back on, got my marquee, and then I feathered it 50 pixels. I made a selection of where I would like to add that section in, and then I tapped in the bottom of the layers panel on that layer mask. So now I have this feathered rectangle. You could do a circle as well, but that's just the shape I picked. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab the paintbrush, and I'm going to select the default black and white, and with 25% opacity, and actually I changed it down to 15, I started blending in the edges just so it blends a little bit better. Later I'm going to brighten the whole picture and it'll blend even better. So I just kind of go on that mask, paint the edges. Next I go here to layer, new adjustment layer, and I'm going to add levels. And this way I'm going to brighten the entire image, and then that way they might blend a little bit better. If the two layers are not blending totally well, you can also later select a specific layer and do an adjustment to just one layer. So here I'm just playing with the highlights and shadows to add some contrast, clarity, make it really pop. And then you can turn that layer on and off to just see what you've done. Then I try to keep blending the edges there so it blends pretty well. But we're going to fix the background up in a little bit anyways. So now I crop the image so I don't have to like keep retouching stuff that I don't want to use. So I do a 3 width by 4. I'm adjusting it, sort of getting rid of the hand and everything. There we go. Let's try it a couple of times. I didn't like that other crop, so I got in closer. There we go. So now that I've cropped it, I went back to the healing brush and I was trying to get rid of that corner. I was having a lot of trouble getting rid of that corner. So what do? I go to another solution. So next I get that rectangular marquee tool again, and I'm on the background layer. And what I do with that rectangular marquee tool is it has that feather still, and I'm going to make a little selection next to that part I'm trying to get rid of. Then I'm going to go to Edit Copy, and then Edit Paste, Command C, Command V, or Control C, Control V. It's going to paste those pixels onto a new layer, and I can get my move tool and just move those pixels. So at first you might not see it, but if you hop onto the move tool, the bounding box will pop up, and then you should be able to move that over to cover it up, and you can resize it as well. I'm going to try that trick again because I would like to get rid of the shadow in the background. So I'm going to do the same trick, make a little skinny selection, Command C, Command V. You can stretch it over that blemish. You can tilt it, apply that transformation. And then I got an eraser because it did overlap onto the plexiglass. So I'm just adjusting it, making the brush a little bit bigger. And then the hardness, I was looking for something else. The hardness here, I'm turning it down. There we go. So it's a softer feathered edge. And I'm just carefully, manually erasing that. And if you make a mistake, you can also just go back in history, Command Z or Control Z if you're on a PC. There we go. And then there's that dark side right there. I'm going to go ahead and do one more transformation. One more edit there. Here we go. Oh yeah, here I just took a second to select both of those layers and the background. So click on the top one, hold down Shift, click on the bottom, and then I right clicked to merge the layers. That way they're all in one. So see, now those layers are gone and it's just merged together. It just makes it a little bit easier sometimes. And then I stretched over, tried to blend this in a little. Could have probably spent a little bit more time on that one. There we go. So check your image, look at all the things that you did. You can check back in history too. See, I opened up the other photos. That's where we started, and that one. So I combined those two images to make that final shot. So then what we need to do is we need to save a Photoshop version. So we go to File, Save as PSD. This will download a file. I would later open that and rename it. And then you're going to export as a JPEG because this is something that you can share on social media. You can also turn it, you can keep it at 70% and just download that image as well. And you're done.